everyone, and welcome back to Melissa's Kitchen Table. Today we're going to be doing a Chinese takeout lo-mein, and I'm just going to be doing a quick beef, a barbecue kind of teriyaki kind of beef. We're going to be using a pound of grass-fed beef. This is top sirloin steak. And for the marinade, I'm going to use some gluten-free teriyaki sauce, a little rice wine vinegar, a little hoisin sauce, and some sesame seed oil. And I might actually throw some sriracha in there as well. So to get started, we're going to have to cut up the beef. It's still partially frozen, which is going to make it a lot easier to cut as opposed to it fully defrosted. Because we're going to try to do thin strips of this. So while it's still a little hard, you could go ahead and cut thinner pieces. Now we're just going to cut thin strips, just like that. Alright, so once we get all of this cut, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do the marinade. So we'll be right back. So for the marinade, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pour over approximately probably 2 to 3 tablespoons of teriyaki marinade. Just going to dump that right over. Maybe a half cup. I'm going to use some rice wine vinegar. This you don't need too much, maybe a tablespoon at the most. And then this is just regular hoisin sauce that you can get at probably any grocery store. And I'm going to go ahead and use what I have in here. So maybe 2 tablespoons. Let me get a spoon to scoop the rest of that out. About a teaspoon of sesame oil. I'm going to go ahead and put in a little garlic powder, just regular garlic powder, and we're going to use some onion powder. I'm not going to use any salt because the marinades all have a lot of salt. Soy sauce, hoisin sauce, all of that has quite a bit of salt, so you don't need to add any. But if you wanted to add some for taste, you can. You could also use a low sodium soy sauce if you'd like. Alright, so we're just going to let that marinate until we're ready to start the rest of our dinner. Tonight for the lo-mein noodles, I bought a package. These are called Chinese noodles. I think it's just from China Bowl Select. I actually got these at Whole Foods. So I'm going to follow the package directions. You could buy lo-mein noodles online, or you can use just a regular spaghetti if you'd like. These come in sheets. There's 3 sheets to a package. They look like your typical like ramen noodle. I just break them in half and then I put them in some boiling water over there. And we're going to let those cook by the package directions, which it says on here 3 minutes. So once 3 minutes is up, we're going to take them out. We're going to put them in a colander and run some cold water over them. And then I'll add about a teaspoon or so of sesame oil so they don't stick. So once that's done, we'll come right back. I did want to mention, while this is in the water, you're going to want to break these noodles up a little too. So if you're using the lo-mein noodles, you'll want to pull them apart so they don't stick together. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so for the lo mein, the veggies we're going to be using is I'm going to be using some snow peas. These are already trimmed and washed, but you could trim them and wash them yourself. I'm going to be using probably a medium-sized head Napa cabbage. We're going to use some green onions. We're going to use a couple carrots. I'm going to shred these. I'm going to use some sesame seed oil. We're going to use some soy sauce, and we're going to use some sriracha. So I'm going to go ahead and shred all of this up, and it's pretty easy to do. Just cut it in half. You're going to want to remove the core, and then you're just going to shred it. While this is going, we're going to have the oven on. I'm going to broil the beef. You could grill it outside, and you could also stir fry it, but we're going to go ahead and broil it. So I have my broiler on high, getting hot. Okay, so I'm going to cut all of this up, and I'm going to get some sesame seed oil going in a pan. Probably 2 tablespoons full. Once I get the green onions cut up and the carrots shredded and the rest of the cabbage, I'll show you how we cook it. We'll be right back. Alright, so the oil's nice and hot. The carrots are nice and shredded. The cabbage is nice and shredded. We'll go ahead and put all of that in. We'll let that cook down first. The cabbage is probably going to be the longest to cook. Just pull it apart a little bit. It already smells like Chinese. Once you start cooking in sesame seed oil, it automatically smells like it. And this looks like a lot of vegetables so far, but it's not. It'll all wilt down. I'm also going to be putting in some broccoli and the snow peas. I'm just going to start tossing this around. Alright, so you want that to wilt a little bit. As soon as that starts wilting, I'll go ahead and add some of the snow peas and the broccoli to it, and we'll be right back. I did want to show you real quick with the green onions. I use the white and the dark part, so I cut all the way up to the dark green in little pieces like this. I don't know if you can see it. And I start cooking those now. The top, or the leafier parts, we'll go ahead and save till the end, and we'll garnish the dish with it. Okay, we'll be right back. Just wanted to show you that the snow peas, I cut mine about 1 inch wide, and I'm going to be throwing those in. You can see over here how it's coming along. It's almost ready to start adding the sauce to it and the noodles. So I'm just going to let this cook now, maybe another 5 minutes to soften those up. You can leave the snow peas, you know, they'll stay a little crunchy. And the broccoli's in there as well. Now the oven's been on preheating, so that's going to be ready for the beef. And I'll show you that we got ahead. I just took a regular baking sheet. I lined it with aluminum foil, and then I put a wire rack on top of it, as you can see over here. And then I just laid the meat out in a single layer, so nothing is going to steam. It's going to start to char in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, probably about 3-4 minutes on each side, maybe 5, depending on how far you like your meat cooked. So when these come out, I'll flip them and I'll show you what one side looks like. So I'm actually going to show you what we're going to do for the marinade. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a glass jar. And we're going to use some soy sauce, probably about a half cup or so. The pot is pretty full, so you could always add more if you like yours more saucy afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and put in a little sriracha, just about a teaspoon, excuse me. If you like yours real spicy, you could add more. A little sesame oil, maybe a teaspoon. And you're going to need 2 teaspoons of sugar. And I will say the sugar does make a little bit of a difference. I don't like really adding sugar to things, but it does make a difference in this. I'm also going to add probably a 1/4 cup of water. And then I'm just going to put the lid on and shake this up. And then we'll go ahead and pour this on top of the veggies. And you can cut this down to low. Mix all of that in. You could also add some grated ginger to this. We don't like ginger, but it does work good in this recipe. And now we have the noodles that were rinsed or drained, rinsed, and it just has a little sesame seed oil on it just so they don't stick. And now we're going to add that in, and this just takes a little patience. And none of these measurements are quite exact. You could use less cabbage, you can use more broccoli, you could use more carrots, you can use regular onions, you can use bell peppers, you can use whatever you want in it. You could also add meat to this. You could add shrimp, chicken, beef, whatever you like. Now if you find that this is a little too dry, you can add a little bit more soy sauce to taste. And then I like to put the rest of the onions on because we like them a little bit cooked, not completely raw. And then this can just sit until that beef is ready. So once that beef has a couple minutes, I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. So here's what the beef looks like after about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to flip it and we'll char the other side. That'll only take a couple minutes because you don't want to overcook the beef. And we'll be back. Okay, so now our meat is all cooked. I just laid it out on a platter. If you're going to grill this step you probably can't do because you're not going to have any drippings. Or you could just add some teriyaki sauce to this on top of it. But what we're going to do is take the drippings that were on the bottom of the pan, which I have here. I have my heat on high, and in the same glass jar, I just put a tablespoon of water and a tablespoon of cornstarch. And we're just going to mix that together. We're going to let this come to a boil, and then I'm going to add this into here, and it's going to make a thick sauce that we could coat the meat with. So once this comes to a boil, you need this to come to a boil in order for the cornstarch to activate. So we'll add that in, and you'll see it's gonna make a lighter color of the sauce, but it'll turn back. Once it's thickened, it'll turn back to that darker brown color. So you just want to whisk this. Don't want any lumps. And as long as the sauce that you put in here is gluten-free, we're using cornstarch, that's gluten-free, so you could still use this on a gluten-free menu. Alright, so once it comes to a bubble like that, you can turn the heat off, and you'll see that that's a nice dark brown color. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and pour that right down the meat. Nice thick mixture. Okay, and this is what the final dish looks like. We have our vegetable lo mein and our beef teriyaki. If you wanted to put some sesame seeds on top of this, it will look really good as a garnish. I just don't have any. So I hope you like my video. If you do, please like down below and subscribe. See you next time.